Welcome to this quick start tutorial on Toon Boom Harmony. My name's Jesse J. Jones, and I'm a professional animator from Portland, Oregon, and I also teach animation on YouTube. It's my goal to keep this tutorial as brief as possible so you can get started on animating right away. By the end of this tutorial, we'll create a scene just like this that has puppeted animation, frame-by-frame animation, and special effects animation. So let's get started. With Toon Boom Harmony, there's 3 different versions. There's Essentials, Advanced, and Premium. Make sure you've selected the right course for the program that you have. So with all versions of Harmony, this setup scene is pretty much the same, so let's go over each line one by one. The first line is the name of your project. Let's give it a name. And then the second line is the location where your file will be saved at. So we're going to click on Browse, and it'll open up an Explorer window, and we'll navigate to where we want to save our animation, and we'll hit this button, Select Folder. So when you're selecting a place to save your animation, you want to make sure to not select an external hard drive or a Dropbox folder, as the way that Toon Boom saves, you could end up losing your work, so make sure to save locally when you're working. The next line is our camera size, and this drop-down also affects the width, height, and frame rate. So they have different presets depending on which format you'd like to work in. Or you could also press this plus button, and here you can set up your own screen resolution by changing the width, height, and frame rate of your preset. Click Create, and you will now have a new camera size that you can select. But for this tutorial, we're going to work in HDTV 1080p at 24 frames per second. Pretty standard HD format. This is what I usually work in. So now that our settings are the way we want them, we're going to click Create Scene, and that will create our project folder. So now that our scene is created, we'll see the Toon Boom Harmony layout. But first, I want to show you how Toon Boom saves your file. If we navigate to where our file was saved, we can see that instead of a project file, there's actually a folder here that has the same name that we gave it earlier. So if we double click on that folder, we'll see inside here there's not too much. There's just a couple of folders, but nothing showing up. Well, if we go back to our project and we go to File, Save, and then we go back to our folder, we'll see we now have a stage file. So this is your project file, this is the file that you'll be working in, but if you'd like to work on a different computer or move this animation somewhere else, we don't want to copy just the stage file. We want to go up to the entire folder, and we want to move this entire folder to wherever we're going to be working in. So that's important to know. Everything that your animation contains is going to be inside this folder. So when you first start Toon Boom, you may notice when you grab your paintbrush and you try to draw, there's a little no symbol here. Well, that's because we don't have our layer selected. When you first start up Toon Boom, you kind of have to wake it up, sometimes either by selecting the transform tool and just clicking on something, or by selecting a layer down below. And you'll see our color palettes get occupied. That means we can now take our paintbrush and draw. So here's how to navigate around in Toon Boom Harmony. If you'll look around my window, you'll see a little red box around whatever window I have activated. If I click down in my timeline, you'll see a red box appears around the timeline and has moved away from the camera view. If I click into my tool properties, you'll see the same thing. So whatever shortcut you're using will affect whatever window has been highlighted. And by default, you have to click to select which window you want to have the shortcut work on. So for example, if I zoom in and out in my camera view, and then I click down in my timeline and I use the same shortcut, I'll zoom in and out on my timeline. So this works fine, but I prefer to have a setting turned on that's not on by default. So if we go under Edit and Preferences, or on a Mac, they're located under the Harmony menu. If we go into our General tab, you'll see this setting down here, Focus on Mouse Enter. Let's go ahead and turn that on. And we also have an autosave function, which if you like autosaving, it's a good idea to have that enabled as well. And then once those are turned on, we're going to click OK. And now you'll see whatever window my mouse has moved to will get that red highlight around it. So I no longer have to click on which window I want to be working in. So when using shortcuts, you want to make sure to have your mouse position in the window that you want to be using the shortcut in. For example, copy and paste in the camera view works very differently from copy and paste in the timeline view. Next, let's go over how you navigate in Toon Boom Harmony. Your navigation tools are over here on the left, and anytime you see a tool with a little arrow in the bottom right, that means you can hold down your mouse and we have a whole subsection of tools to pick from. So the hand pans our scene around, and the shortcut for that is to hold down the spacebar. To zoom in and out, we can select our zoom tool and click to zoom in, and hold Alt and click to zoom out. You can also select zoom in or zoom out on your tool options, or you can press the hotkey of 2 to zoom in and 1 to zoom out. Now, if you're used to Photoshop, you may be thinking like, wait, isn't it supposed to be Control minus and Control plus to zoom in and out? On most programs, this is the case, but I like having 2 and 1 as zoom in and out because all my shortcut keys that I use are on the left side of the keyboard, so I think that's pretty cool. And finally, we have our rotate view. So if we select that tool, you'll see an animation disc. This is like the old school Disney animation disc, and what animators would do is they would use it to turn their drawing around so that they can get more natural drawing strokes. And the hotkey for that is to hold Control and Alt at the same time and then click and drag with your mouse. If your view's gotten all wonky and you want it to go back to the original position, you can simply click this button down here, which is Reset View, and it will reset your view back to its default position. Next, we're going to go over the tools in Toon Boom Harmony and how to draw with them.